We're glad that you are here. This is the 2013 version of the Wayne Bell Lectureship on Ministry, and we're very happy that Vine Street decided to have this panel today for that. We're calling today Stormy Questions, the Church, Slavery, and Mass Incarceration. And I think all of you have a agenda, right? Like a little schedule. And I'm going to kind of keep us on time today as we're moving along. So you can see who's coming when as we do this today. One housekeeping thing, if you don't know, in this corner here is the women's room, and in that corner, sort of back through the door, is the men's room. I do want to introduce our six panelists today briefly, and when I say your name, if you'll kind of wave your arm around so that people will know who I'm talking about. Today we have Jeannie Alexander.
Who's on her way?
Who's on her way? Okay. She's a pastor, and hopefully she's not first. She's not, good. Jeannie Alexander is pastor and chaplain to the Men of Riverbend Maximum Security Institution here in Nashville. She's also the co-founder of Amos House Catholic Worker Community, a writer for and on the board of directors of The Contributor, the street newspaper. Sarah Harwell. Sarah is the Vice President and Chief Archivist of Disciples of Christ Historical Society. And she put together our exhibit, our annual exhibit, called The Stormy Question, Churches and the Slavery Issue, Christian Churches and the Slavery Issue. And out of that grew this idea for this conversation that we're having today. Sarah has also taught a workshop on women's history for Lipscomb and at the Tennessee Prison for women. And also has done a lot of webinar work, educational webinar work for us as well. Today, after this, after our time today from 2:30 to 4:30, Sarah will be at the Thomas W. Phillips Memorial Archives, so that if you'd like to, you can come by and see the exhibit, which is, the reason the exhibit came about is because this is the sesquicentennial of the Emancipation Proclamation, right? So they gave us the idea to do this exhibit. And so she'll be there for a couple of hours this afternoon over by the campus of Vanderbilt. If you don't know how to get there, just ask Sarah and she'll give you the easy directions from here. And if you can't do that, either today or any time, then please go to the website, DisciplesHistory.org, and right there on the homepage you'll see where you can click and look at the online version of this exhibit. Our thanks today to Ted Parks, who is, we think, videoing this for us today, and so that this will be posted on our YouTube channel. You can go to YouTube and type in there in the little, go to the all channels, and then in the little window, type in either Disciples History or Disciples of Christ Historical Society, and that channel will come up, and you can see what happened here today, if you doze off or something. Thomas Kleinert is the senior minister here at Vine Street. Thomas and I have a couple of things in common. We were both born during the Eisenhower administration. Do we have any other Eisenhower babies here? Got a couple other Eisenhower babies? And Thomas and I also both grew up watching Gunsmoke. The only difference is that his was overdubbed in German. Thomas is a major voice on social justice issues here in the community. And Thomas is a really very unusual preacher in that he actually has something to say. And he's happy to prove that any Sunday right upstairs here. Ndume Alatashani is
on his way.
On his way, okay. He is a native of St. Louis. Ndume was released in 2012 from the Shelby County Jail after serving almost 28 years behind bars, 20 of them on death row, for a crime he didn't commit. He finally gained his freedom only in exchange for pleading guilty to second-degree murder. He now works for the Children's Defense Fund, educating people about using resources to end the cradle-to-prison pipeline, and he will share his experience with us this afternoon. Preston Shipp.
I'd like to just say I was born during the Carter.
I'm sorry. I'm very sorry to hear that.
I didn't include that in the bio.
Okay, it's not included. Preston serves as disciplinary counselor for the Tennessee Board of Professional Responsibility. Prior to that work, he was Assistant Attorney General for the state of Tennessee. Since 2002, Preston's been involved in his church's prison ministry, and from 2007 till 12, he taught classes at Lipscomb at the Tennessee Prison for Women. And Janet Wolf
is on our way.
Okay. These people are on their way, right? Okay. Janet Wolf is a United Methodist pastor and community organizer around poverty rights, now working with the Children's Defense Fund. Until recently, Janet was professor of church and society at the American Baptist College here in Nashville. She also partners with leaders and teachers who are in prison, including SALT, which stands for Schools for Alternative Learning and Transformation, working toward restorative justice. So those are the different people that you're going to hear from today, and there will be time throughout the day for questions and answers and comments and give and take and feedback. So this isn't just a one-way communication today. And I'm Glenn Carson. I'm with Disciples of Christ Historical Society. I want to take just a moment to try to put what we're doing today in some sort of context. Maybe not the context that you have in mind, but a context. And I always find it very helpful when we are talking about anything that includes historical discussion to just remind ourselves how recently we arrived. And we're just really, I sometimes want to say we're infants, but I think we're probably more like toddlers having a tantrum. We're kind of at that stage. But when you think about the 4.5 billion years that the earth has been here, we've just gotten here. I heard one historian one time say that if the age of the earth is the Empire State Building, the Christian era is a dime on the roof. And that's pretty accurate in terms of how recently we've gotten here. It's really kind of a fascinating thing. If the age of the earth were only 24 hours, can you think about a clock for a minute? Imagine that with me. So the earth is not 4.5 billion years old. Okay, the earth is only 24 hours old. So the clock starts at midnight, and when it gets back to midnight, 24 hours later, it's right now, this moment. Okay, you have to go to 11:59:53 p.m. just 7 seconds ago for our most remote ancestors, the Homo erectus, to arrive. Just about a second and a half ago, or so, something like that, for our immediate ancestors, the Homo sapiens, to arrive. And less than 1/10 of 1 second ago, civilization appeared. That's how recently we've arrived and how much we still have to learn. The church is a history of 2,000 years worth of triumph and joy, failure and misery. And all too often, the church has come out on the wrong side of social justice issues. In fact, almost every time for 2,000 years. And so we still have a lot to learn. So the church and culture have, in various ways, interacted over that 2 millennia. In his 1951 work that's still being referred to today was a very important book called Christ and Culture by H. Richard Niebuhr. And he talks about 5 different ways that Christ, the church, and culture interact with one another. One of those is Christ against culture. So that we are to stand in opposition to something. Just oppose whatever culture is doing, just oppose it. Don't even question what it is, just find out what it is and then oppose it. Just because whatever culture is doing is wrong. It's against the cause of the church. And so there are those that think that. And there are other ways, a few other ways to do this. But the ideal, Niebuhr says, is Christ transforming culture. Right? So that based upon New Testament principles that we're living out and that we're practicing, that grows and grows and grows to the point that culture itself is transformed. But therein lies the rub. Because in order for that to happen, I must first be transformed. And I am proving to be a very difficult case. I'm in my 54th year. And I thought for sure that I was going to be much farther along in my personal development by now. It turns out that as I continue going through my extended midlife crisis, that seems to be never ending and manifests itself in various ways, that the transformation is maybe not coming. Reinhold Niebuhr, who was Richard Niebuhr's brother, and it's interesting because he had two brothers that both were major voices on theology and culture in the 20th century. Reinhold Niebuhr said this: man's capacity for justice makes democracy possible, but man's inclination to injustice makes democracy necessary. Man's capacity for justice makes democracy possible, but man's inclination to injustice makes democracy necessary. Because we are continuing to go through our midlife identity crisis, our terrible two tantrums that seem to never end. The human condition is one that is the ongoing struggle. Psychologists use what they call the four existential life positions, and you know these. They are: I'm okay, you're okay, right? I'm okay, you're okay. I'm okay, you're not okay. I'm not okay, you're okay. And I'm not okay, you're not okay, right? Building on work by Jean Piaget in cognitive studies and Erik Erikson in identity studies, coming up with these four existential life positions, right? And we have a name for people who are on the extreme of the I'm not okay, you're not okay. We call those people terrorists, okay? And we have a name for people on the extreme of I'm okay, you're okay. We call those people saints. Most of us are somewhere in the middle knocking around, and none of us ever stay in one of these all the time, right? We're moving around because that's part of the human condition. That's part of our midlife crisis. That's part of our ongoing questioning. That's part of our inclinations to injustice, all the while wishing that we had more capacity for justice. Lawrence Kohlberg is the man who came up with the 6 stages of moral development. James Fowler came up with 6 stages of faith development. It's interesting. They work separately, but it's interesting how those 2 stages parallel one another. And what they both finally concluded was that almost all of us, whether we're talking about the faith stages or the moral development stages, that almost all of us get stuck in the middle. Stage 3 for Kohlberg is the good boy stage, the black and white stage. You know, I'm going to do everything just right. And stage 4 is the law and order stage, which is how our society works. I don't think a society has ever gotten past stage 4 in human civilization history. Stage 6 is universal ethics. And a few people, we think, have gotten there. People like Gandhi and Jesus and those kind of people supposedly have gotten to stage 6. But, of course, I didn't know Gandhi or Jesus personally. So I'm not really sure if they made it to stage 6 or not. They might have been stuck right in the middle with me. They might have been having a midlife crisis. Of course, Jesus didn't live long enough to have a midlife crisis. So he doesn't know what I'm talking about. So we're so disconnected from ourselves in this crisis that's ongoing that we don't know what we want, we don't know why we want it, and we don't know which way to go. If our energy is negative, that counteracts anything positive we might be saying. And that's been just a history almost of continual negative energy when we talk about the life of the church. And it plays itself out in the kind of conversation that we're having today, in these issues that we're trying to wrestle with a little bit. The negative energy that supposedly the good Christian church has been putting out for 2,000 years has brought about the situation that we still don't have a handle on. I don't want to say that I can empathize with our ancestors, but I do understand them, because I'm also a flawed human being. And they were flawed human beings. And so we continue with the struggle. So if I am in a midlife crisis and you are in a midlife crisis and we make up the church, therefore the church is in a midlife crisis, not knowing which way to go, why to go there, or what to do when we get there. And that's the ongoing struggle. I was thinking about Kohlberg's moral development stages, and I saw just this past week saw this definition of morality, which I thought was interesting. This person said, morality has nothing to do with good works. Instead, it's the idea of recognizing what our brokenness is and allowing that brokenness to be transformed. Isn't that an interesting definition? Morality has nothing to do with good works. Instead, it is the idea of recognizing what our brokenness is and allowing that brokenness to be transformed. Christ transforming me, Christ transforming culture, Christ transforming the church, Christ moving in and among us, so that somehow or other we can figure out which way to go, why we're going there, and what to do when we arrive. And that's what these kind of conversations are about that we're having today. We are hoping somehow to move toward transformation. And in that moving, in that dialogue that we're going to have today and continue ongoing, we hope that the transformation truly begins to happen within us, so that the transformation can be carried out into the world, not just to address issues, but to truly renew the world that we live in. Well, thank you for sort of kind of paying attention for a minute. Appreciate that. And we're going to start off our day with a little bit of history. Sarah Harwell is going to come and talk to us about the churches and antebellum slavery.